we're going to talk a little bit about teams that are under 500, teams that are off to slow starts, and who we still think have a chance to make some noise. I want to start and just, I mean, there's one team we want to talk about. It's Katy. Okay, Katy's 1-2.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, they should be 0-3.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Now, Klein Collins gets a great win this week over Houston Lamar. Okay, They beat Houston Lamar. Great win for Collins. And so maybe Collins is better than we think they are. But they lose to Westlake in the opener. And I think we all said, okay, well, Westlake's a good team. That's fine. It's not ideal, but it's
close.
Three-point game on the road.
The next week they go and they need a fourth quarter comeback and overtime to beat Klein Collins.
A good team, but
a good team.
I would say a 10 to 25 range type team right now at least.
A top 25 team, but probably not a top 10 team.
Correct. I would definitely classify them that. Yeah.
There's that. Okay, we go, well, they got the win. Red flags here and there, but that's fine. And then this week, they go and they get mollywopped by the
It's been a few years since Katy's been drilled like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because even in the 2 losses to Cedar Hill in the state title games, those were close nip and tuck games. This one, I mean, it was close because Woodlands. I mean, it was 14-3 at the half. But just talking to a couple people, they just never felt like Katy was in that game.
No,
so
weird.
It's weird to say that they were not in the game. And so, I mean, all credit to the Woodlands. I thought Katy would get it together.
Yeah.
I kind of gave them a mulligan this week, and now I'm like, man, I'm. There's some concern. I still think they have the talent and the pedigree to get it together.
Right.
But I definitely think right now. I mean, even going Division I. I mean, I don't think.
But here's the thing: we were talking about that. You look at how Division I in Region 3 is going to break down.
Yeah.
Okay, North Shore,
Yeah.
always there. Okay, Dickinson off to a great start.
Yep.
You want to lump Pearland in there? They're off to a great start. Cy Ranch off to a great start. And then there's one other that I just know I'm with.
We got Lamar. I mean,
Lamar.
Yeah.
Lamar's
Lamar.
good.
Yeah.
And you feel like even in district play, Cinco Ranch could be a
yes.
problem.
I mean, Region 3 in Division 1, I think, is very deep.
Yeah.
And if Katy's fallen back to the pack, I mean, that's problematic for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm really.
Especially,
I don't know what to think because
and I don't
my
know if we're
entire
gonna-
adult life they've been this
Right.
dominant force.
And I don't know how much we're going to really know about Katy going into the playoffs because
Exactly.
no offense to I guess kind of offense made to the Katy. I mean, there's not a lot of great teams. I mean, Katy Taylor's off to a nice start. Cinco Ranch is
Cinco Ranch is going to be their biggest challenge, I think.
But even then, I mean, do we really? I mean, they've dominated Cinco Ranch so much. If when they play Cinco Ranch, they win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. What does that really mean? It's hard to really.
But that's the thing. It's the underrated thing about Katy, right? Is each year, we went into the state championships last year. We knew Katy was really good, but you never know how good. You just don't.
Yeah.
Region 3 doesn't always stack up, especially in Division 2. Doesn't always stack up that strong.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And their pre-district, okay, well they win games against tough teams, and you go, this is what I think, and they go through a district schedule that doesn't really prove anything.
I think it's a good thing that they have a chance to fix things, and maybe they kind of take that path of improving every week going into district play. But I think they can go into the playoffs 8-2, and we'll be like, I really don't know what to make of this team.
Yeah.
Who else across the state we're 3 weeks in? Who else would you say is under 500 right now? Or I guess if you're 1-1 at 500, but under 500 that you feel like still has a shot to win a state title?
I think the number one team for me right now, if you're looking at the big schools, is Colleyville Heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 2 losses. They lost a close one to Aledo, and they lost by 14 to Trinity.
Yeah.
I think they're a team that obviously is equipped to take on the likes of Denton Ryan in the playoffs.
Right.
Their district, I think, is going to be a little bit tougher than we thought. Richland and Grapevine are both off to really, really strong
It'll be
starts.
really interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, so I think we'll get a good look at Colleyville. But I think right now, the way they've played, despite the fact they're 1-2, I would say they're probably right at the top of that list. Obviously, Spring Westfield's 0-3, but they've lost to North Shore, Trinity, and I think Lamar.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a team I think they could get things together. Obviously, you look at the small schools. Salina, they're 1-2. I'm concerned about the offensive line.
Either.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. I knew coming in they had some questions in the offensive line.
Yeah.
They've given up some points too, which is very unsalina-like there.
Let me tell you, there's a couple of squads that jump out to me. Rockwall's 0-3. Rockwall's played a murderer's row of a schedule.
Yeah, Highland Park, Rowlett, and South Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Rockwall on week 2, and they lost that game to Rowlett. But if not for a bevy of special team gaffes in the first half, they probably could have easily won that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now the district, though, I mean, that's they got to get it together quick, because that district is going to be a meat grinder, with Tyler Lee being a lot better than we thought.
Right.
Even Mesquite at 2-1, they get their quarterback back in a couple of weeks. I think Mesquite could be very dangerous as well. So you add that on to what's already in that district. That's a tough grind.
How do we feel about Mansfield? Because let's be real. They should have beaten Cedar Hill.
Should have
beaten Cedar Hill. And then they go, and last week, maybe Marcus is just a lot better than we think they are, but they lose to Marcus in rather kind of convincing fashion.
It's one of my kind of question mark results there. Obviously Mansfield graduated a lot up front. They graduated their quarterback. They still have Kennedy Brooks inside Debo, and a coaching change. You think about that as well. A little surprise. The Cedar Hill loss, I can kind of take that with a grain of salt. The other two games, they really didn't dominate Mansfield Summit. They won 28-10, kind of a meh performance, and then they get hammered by Marcus. So, I'll be interested to see what Mansfield does in the Arlington district, which is kind of up in the air because Martin's had some struggles recently. Yeah. Arlington with a nice win over Plano East last week. Bowie is kind of, they beat Marcus, so it's like you compare scores, you're like, okay, that's an interesting result. So a little interested there. I think one other team in the small school ranks that I think is 1 and 2 that really has a great shot. It's Canadian. Their 2 losses are to 4A programs. Yeah. I think I wouldn't make too much of Canadian and their 2 losses. They're not at where they were last year, but I think they have a chance to get it together. And they were very competitive in those 2 losses. And ironically, I was looking at that. Both their losses came during 2-hour lightning delays as well. So
and
they don't handle lightning delays well, I guess.
And this week they play Stratford, who a big rivalry game. And
Stratford's had a week to prepare for that game.
They have, and I'll tell you, I mean, you don't have to squint real hard to see a 1 and 3 Canadian team. No. But I think you're exactly right. That's the kind of 1 and 3 record that I go, okay, let's hold off a bit. Let's see how this. Let's let them cook a bit.
Let's not write their eulogy right now.
One other team I've got my eye on, McGregor. Okay, in the Central Texas area, they get a week 1 win over at Grosbeck. We figured out that Grosbeck's actually pretty decent.
Beat Mahia last week,
and now 2 more, and now they lose to Sunnyvale by 10, and then they lose by Mart by 7. I mean, those are 2 really good teams.
Yeah, they're good losses.
Those are good losses. So I would keep an eye on them. Although look, it doesn't get any easier. 2 weeks from now, they play back to back. At Cameron Yo, and then home against Franklin.
That district's just absolutely. And they still got Rockdale, and Gerald's in there.
Little River Academy, who just beat Goldthwaite. I mean,
Troy's in there too, and they went 3 deep. That's the toughest district, top to bottom in the state.
What do we make of Mineola?
I had Mineola down. The 2 losses are to Kaufman and to Van.
Good losses.
Good losses, and they bounced back with the win over Wills Point. But I would have thought a elite Mineola team would be able to handle.
Yeah.
At least Van, maybe not Coffin. Coffin's pretty dang good. So I'm
so
still
confused.
The jury's out on Mineola a little bit. I think they'll get it together, but I don't know. Their defense worries me a little bit.
The defense is kind of okay, but for me, the bigger concern is that we expected this Mineola team to score points in bunches, just go nuts offensively, and they just haven't.
Maybe losing the Anderson twins up front has been a bigger loss. They had all the skill kids, but they lose the big boys up front. I wonder if that's having a bigger impact than we anticipated.
Maybe.
So now you've got, I know you plan out your schedule a week at a time, and I know you've got a big weekend, including a trip to see friend of Texas, not just my friend, Paisano Pete. Out in the big Roadrunner statue out there in Fort Stockton.
Yeah, so Thursday night got a good. Actually, I didn't think this. Thursday it's a lighter schedule because of all the buys this week, especially on Thursday night. But I've actually Denton and Timber Creek 2-3 in Denton. I'm a little. The AP they're ranked like 7th in the AP poll. I want to tap the brake there just a little bit.
Now
they're a good team.
I will say that's a good team. They're 3-0, and if there is a team that is perfectly suited to be overlooked, isn't it Denton?
Because
where you've got Geyer, who of course gets all the headlines, and Ryan. Yeah. That's the perfect place for them to just kind of slide under the radar. I do want to say one thing before I let you continue. You are exactly right. We haven't mentioned it, but a lot of 6A and 5A buys this week.
Yep.
If you are a Texas high school football fan and you're like, oh well, my team's off this week, so I'm not going to go to a game, tweet me or tweet Stepp and tell us where you live. Like around what area? We'll recommend a small school game for you to go to.
Small school games are usually I prefer the small school games in a lot of
too.
ways because they're so much fun to go to.
Absolutely.
So Denton and Timber Creek Thursday night, 2-3. Timber Creek's off to a nice 3-0 start.
Yeah.
So be a good litmus test there for both of those teams. Friday night, I'm going to see. I originally wanted to see Ryan and Lone Star, but the day job kind of got in the way, and Denton ISD with those crazy 7:00 starts.
What's going on?
Just decided, I'm gonna go down. So option 2 was Lancaster and Lake Ridge, a district game, 2 elite teams. Should be a fun matchup. I expect a lot of points and a lot of big plays in that one for sure. And Coach Gilbert does a great job hosting. He always makes sure he gets me the extra VIP pass to go down to the VIP box and get my grub on. So
of course,
press box food tweets will be coming Friday night for sure.
God.
And then Saturday, the rare Saturday Fort Stockton game. So Coach Peters from Saginaw took the Fort Stockton job last year. We talked when he took the job, and he asked me kind of jokingly, "When are you gonna come out to Fort Stockton and catch a game?" And I was like, "Oh, Coach, it's tough for me to travel on Fridays because I have a real job. Not that this isn't a real job, but
Right.
So
It's not.
yeah, I have a
be
real
clear.
job. So he said, okay. I said, but if you get a Saturday game, I'm there. And sure enough, he schedules Uvalde. I think it was one of those deals where they both got stuck in odd districts and they just couldn't find anyone to play.
Right.
So because of the distance, they're going to play on Saturday, so Uvalde doesn't have to leave school early on Friday. So Uvalde is making the long trip out west to Fort Stockton to play Saturday at 3:00. So
are you.
And I will be out there. So Uvalde's 3-0, Fort Stockton's 2-1. So
It's a good game.
Not a it's a unique type of matchup, and I get to visit Paisano Pete.
You do.
And I get to go eat at Tacos OJ.
Oh
So
my
I mean,
gosh.
it's
Could be
it's
worse.
just
Living the dream.
I'm living the dream. So so look for tweets from me out in Fort Stockton Saturday afternoon.
Lord.
He is Matt Stepp. He is the DCTF High School Insider. Follow him on Twitter at Matt_Stepp817.